Venus, Beauty and Beast. Focus question. Why might Venus be considered a fascinating planet? Do you know? Venus is the easiest planet to find. Because Venus is so close to the Sun, it is always near the Sun in the sky. Look for Venus low in the western sky just after sunset, or low in the eastern sky just before sunrise. If you look at Venus with strong binoculars or a telescope, you can see it go through phases like the Moon. You might see a crescent Venus, a half Venus, or a full Venus. Introduction. Venus is the brightest star in our night sky. People have admired this dazzling point of light for thousands of years. In ancient times, the Chinese named it Taipei, meaning beautiful white one. Today, we know this planet by the name the ancient Romans gave it, Venus, their goddess of love and beauty. Venus is the only planet named after a female figure. People long ago did not know that Venus is actually a planet with a hard, rocky surface like Earth. Venus has towering mountains, vast plains, enormous volcanoes, deep craters, and many other interesting features. We know much more about Venus than people in ancient times did because scientists have studied Venus with telescopes and space probes. Unlike people thousands of years ago, we know that Venus is an extremely hostile place, more than 6 times hotter than the hottest place on Earth. Venus is a bizarre world that is part beauty and part beast. A hot, hostile world. Of the 7 other planets of our solar system, Venus is the nearest one to Earth. It is the second planet from the Sun, while Earth is the third. Venus is also the planet that is closest in size to Earth. Venus is one of 3 planets that have solid, rocky surfaces like Earth, the others being Mercury and Mars. All the other planets are gigantic balls of gas and liquid. Although Venus has some similarities to Earth, it is a very different kind of planet than our world. The average temperature on Venus is 870 degrees Fahrenheit, 465 degrees Celsius. The reason Venus is so scorching hot is because it is surrounded by a thick, soupy blanket of clouds that traps heat. This heat originally comes from the Sun, but the planet's surface reflects some of the Sun's heat upward. The thick clouds trap this reflected heat, just as the glass or plastic of a greenhouse. The clouds of Venus are part of its atmosphere, the gases that make up the air surrounding Venus. Venus's atmosphere contains large amounts of a gas called carbon dioxide, which is very efficient at trapping heat. Many of the clouds of Venus also contain droplets of a substance called sulfuric acid. This oily compound is one of the strongest acids, and it can easily burn skin and dissolve metals. Raindrops of sulfuric acid sometimes fall from the clouds of Venus. Layers of air can be very heavy, just as large amounts of water can be heavy. When something is heavy, it creates pressure. The atmosphere of Venus is so weighty that it produces tremendous pressure on the surface of the planet. If you were able to stand on the surface of Venus, this pressure would soon crush you. Earth's greenhouse effect. Earth's atmosphere also causes a greenhouse effect, though not as strong as the one on Venus. Because of this effect, Earth remains warm enough to have water and support life. However, scientists believe that the burning of coal, oil, and gas fuels is strengthening Earth's greenhouse effect. When these fuels are burned, extra carbon dioxide is released into the air. This gas traps more heat near the surface, warming the planet more.
Fascinating surface features.
Beneath its dense atmosphere, Venus has some of the most fascinating features discovered on any planet. There are massive mountain ranges on the surface of Venus. One of these is named Maxwell Montes, the only feature on Venus named after a man. This mountain range, which is near Venus's North Pole, rises 7 miles, 11.3 kilometers at its highest point. That is more than 1 mile, 1.6 kilometers, higher than Mount Everest, the highest place on Earth. Venus also has thousands of huge volcanoes, some of which are more than 150 miles, 240 kilometers wide. Many volcanoes are located on an elevated area of land along Venus's equator named Aphrodite Terra. Aphrodite was the name of the goddess of love and beauty in ancient Greece. Most of the volcanoes on Venus erupted, shooting out hot lava many millions of years ago. Scientists are still studying Venusian volcanoes for signs of recent eruptions.
The boiling lava that shot out of volcanoes
long ago flowed across the surface of Venus. Today, much of the surface consists of flat plains of cooled, cracked, hardened lava. There are also long, winding riverbeds on Venus. Scientists theorize that flowing lava carved out these channels millions of years ago. The riverbeds were probably not carved out by streaming water, as happens on Earth, because it is so hot on Venus that any water would evaporate into the atmosphere. However, if Venus was cooler in the past, then perhaps water might have existed on its surface long ago. Venus has deep craters that formed billions of years ago when meteorites crashed into the planet's surface. Floods of lava covered up many of the craters on Venus, which is why Venus does not have as many impact craters as the Moon.
Visits to
Venus. Many people once imagined that Venus was similar to some warm places on Earth. They wondered whether Venus might even have tropical jungles and swamps with such animals as snakes and crocodiles. Looking at Venus through telescopes on Earth, scientists could not determine what the planet's surface was actually like. Telescopes are unable to show what lies beneath Venus's opaque clouds. Scientists knew next to nothing about Venus's surface until they sent robotic space probes there. The Soviet Union, now called Russia, launched several space probes to Venus during the 1960s, 1970s, and 1980s. Some of these spacecraft, which were all named Venera, landed on Venus. The Venera landers took photographs of the planet's desert-like surface and radioed the pictures back to Earth. However, after only about an hour or two, the intense temperatures and pressures at the surface destroyed each Venera lander. The U.S. National Aeronautics and Space Administration, NASA, has also sent space probes to Venus. In the 1970s, two Pioneer probes from the United States traveled to Venus. One Pioneer orbited Venus, creating maps of the surface using radar. In radar, a special instrument sends out radio waves, which are then reflected off a surface. The time it takes for the waves to bounce back gives scientists information about the surface. Another pioneer flew by Venus, studying its atmosphere with scientific instruments. Scientists learned the most about Venus in the 1990s when the U.S. Magellan probe orbited the planet. Magellan used an
Magellan
advanced
also
type
an
of
advanced
radar
type
to
of
produce
radars to
many
produce
pictures of the
many
surface of
pictures
Venus.
the surface of Venus.
For the first
For the
time,
first time,
scientists could see the
cannot
mountains, volcanoes, and other features of the surface in sharp detail.
The
The European Union launched the Venus Express probe in 2005. Scientists used instruments on Venus Express to further study the planet's clouds and surface.
Japan launched
the Akatsuki orbiter in 2010 to study the planet's lightning.
Conclusion. Venus caught the eyes of stargazers thousands of years ago,
outshining everything else in the sky except for the sun and moon. It seemed to demand a special place of honor. Venus received this honor by being named after an ancient mythological goddess of love and beauty. We honor Venus today by studying it with science, which has shed much light on this bright point in the heavens. Thanks to science, we know that Venus is a very special and strange kind of world. It is the hottest planet in the solar system. It has some of the largest mountains and volcanoes found on any planet. It rains sulfuric acid. People once thought that Venus was like Earth. We now know that Venus is as unlike Earth as another planet can possibly be. It's a very hostile world where life as we know it is impossible. Yet, Venus undoubtedly possesses a strange beauty of its own.
That's Venus.